And we are on Nun Beis Amid Beis.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting Gemara today. So yesterday we spoke about the fact that an Ovei Kochavim can be mevatel the idolatry, the idol of an Ovei Kochavim, his and his friends, but he cannot be mevatel the Ovei Kochavim of a Jew. And in the second verse it says he could be mevatel the Ovei Kochavim even of a Jew. And we said that no, it's talking about a shutfus, and he went back on it, and he originally thought that if you have a shutfus between a Jew and a non-Jew, then the non-Jew can be mevatel the avodah zarah. And we said at the end of the day, no, he can only be mevatel the avodah zarah's portion, the Ovei Kochavim's portion, and not the Jew's portion. That's what we said, because a Jew doesn't necessarily go after the non-Jew, and therefore at the end of the day, the Ovei Kochavim can only be mevatel an Ovei Kochavim or his own portion. He cannot be mevatel a Jew's portion. A Jew, for obvious reasons, as we've said many times, cannot be mevatel any avodah zarah. That's the bottom line. Says the Gemara, Ika Demani La Seifa. There are those who learn of Hillel Breder of Vlos, who says it's a case of shutfus. It's going to come out the same exact din, but he learns it on the Seifa. Yisrael Eino Mevatel Avodos Kochavim Shalovei Kochavim. It's Pshita. Yisrael can't even mevatel his own avodah zarah. Could he mevatel the avodah zarah of a non-Jew? Amr of Hillel Breder of Vlos. Lo Nitzucha Sheyesh Lo Bas Shutfus. It's telling you that there's a shutfus, and it's not teaching that Yisrael can't be mevatel the avodah zarah of an Ovei Kochavim. We know that. V'kamash Malan Yisrael Hu Delo Mevatel the Ovei Kochavim. Aval Ovei Kochavim. And this and the limud, which comes out as the same thing, is that a Yisrael can't be mevatel the Ovei Kochavim's idol, but the Ovei Kochavim can be mevatel his part of the idol even when he has a shutfus with a Jew. Ika demani la braysan. Similarly, they have those who learn it on a braysa. What is cham shel Yisrael ein la betela olamis? If you have the idol of a Jew, there's no betela. My olamis. Amar fil beidir avlas lo nitzchal sheyesh lo lovei chavim bashutfus v'kamash malan di Yisrael adaita denashe plach. That even when it's not exclusively the idol of a Jew, but it's a Jew, it's the idol of a Jew in conjunction with a non-Jew, you still can't be mevatel that idol, because at the end of the day, you cannot be mevatel the idol of a Jew even when you have in conjunction with him. Again, it comes out, we always have to know what we're remembering, comes out that a Jew cannot be mevatel his idol or the idol of a non-Jew. A non-Jew can't be mevatel the idol of a non-Jew. He cannot be mevatel the idol of a Jew that is in partnership with a non-Jew. Yes?
What's going on with the Jew with the idol? Why is the Jew with the idol?
What do you mean? A lot of Jews used to worship idols. Today we don't understand. We don't have the Yitzhar for idols. That used to be. That was definitely the in thing. Think about. I always say, think about our smartphones. That's exactly what it is. Our smartphones is the avodah zarah of today. That we're addicted to the smartphones. That's how they were. I spoke about them many times. I always speak about it. Keitzad mivadla zak the Mishnah. Okay, lamaisa. Now that we've established. Good morning. Now that we've established that a non-Jew can be mevatel his own avodah zarah or his friend's avodah zarah, so how exactly does he go ahead and be mevatel? How will the Maisa can you be mevatel in avodah zarah? What do you need to do? So seemingly either you could do what we do for betikas chametz or for mechiras chametz, but maybe not. It sounds like you have to actually do something to the idol.
How can a non-Jew mevatel his friends?
That's what we spoke about. We said that he can be mevatel his idol or the idol of his friends. Any guy. He can be mevatel. He can't be mevatel a Jew's idol. He can be mevatel. Right. He can be mevatel. It sounds like stamazoi. He's being mevatel it. Obviously, if the guy goes ahead and worships it afterwards, then it didn't accomplish anything. The point is that if he mevatel it and then it's not worshipped afterwards, the bittul is effective. So how do you mevatel it? Kata rosh ozna. You cut off a piece of the ear. Rosh chotama. Cut off a piece of the nose. Rosh etzba, you cut off a piece of the finger. Pachsav, a piece of chisra, you dent it, even though you don't actually take anything off. Bitla, if you do any of those things, it's considered to be batel. Rak bifanev, you spit in its face. Hishnim bifanev, you go to the bathroom in its face. Gerira, you drag it across the mud. Zarach ba'asat soa, you throw your soa at it. Harezo eina betela. It's not betela. Why? Says Rashi, because you might have just done those in acts of rage. When you get upset, what do? You spit at things. You go to the bathroom on them, you drag them across the mud, you throw your tzoh at them. Those are not going to be betela. Okay, don't try that at home.
It's not permanent.
So what's interesting is that that's how they storage, but the Gemara doesn't say that. That's what I thought Rashi would say, that the reason it's not batel is because that's how they worship it. That was only the Baal Peor, I believe. But he's saying that if you do it to the other things, then Lamaisa, we assume it's an act of rage, but you're not going to go that far in your act of rage. Everybody has their limit. So you're not going to go that far in your act of rage to actually go ahead and dent it or cut off a piece. If you go that far to cut off a piece, it's clearly not an act of rage. You actually want to be mevatel it.
Rashi says whether it's permanent or not. That's the issue. permanent damage or temporary damage?
Correct. Machro mashkana, this is going to be an interesting machlokes. What happens if the non-Jew sells or gives his avodah zarah as a mashkon, as a collateral? Rabbi Omer Bittel, the fact that he sells it or gives it as a collateral, in essence, it's saying, I don't want it anymore. I'm done with it. The way we pass it, the Chachamim say that it's not batel unless you actively. So it's not passively batel. We don't just assume it's batel, but you have to actively be mevatel it, and therefore, if you sell it or you give it as a mashkon, it's not batel. Kilo chisra b'may bidla. In the case where you go ahead and you dent it, how are you going to be mevatel it? Like Shami was saying, you didn't actually ruin it because you only dented it. Amar Zera, shepachsa b'fanda. You're right, it's not talking about when you dent a little piece of it, that's not a big deal. But if you dent its face in, and the tzura of the face is no longer there, then we're going to consider as if you actually cut something off. How do you know that spitting in its face and going to the bathroom on it is not going to work? It's talking about the Jews. When there was a rav, when there was a famine, what happened? They realized that their idols are not helping them, so they turned towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, we need your help. But it says afterwards, and what happened right afterwards? Like the parking spot. God, I need help. No, forget it. I found the parking spot. That same thing. Idols, you're worthless. Go to God. After you get what you need, you go back to the idols. That's what it means that Ve'el Eretz Shabit, you return. Even after you cursed your God, the Avodah Zarah, and you turned heavenward, El Eretz Shabit, eventually you're going to come back. Unless you actually damage it, we assume you're going to do it again. Like a pregnant woman, right? She swears she's never going to have another kid, and then she forgets about it and has another kid. So to over here, you swear you're never going to use the idol again, you go ahead and you use it again. If you cut off a piece of it, then we assume you had intention to never use it again.
Is this talking about the Jew mevatel?
No, of course. We just said a Jew is not allowed to be mevatel avodah zarah. Jew can't be mevatel. A Jew, correct. A Jew cannot be mevatel any avodah zarah. This is talking about a goy, how they're mevatel it. But we also said that a Jew can force a goy to be mevatel avodah zarah. When you conquer Eretz Yisrael, you can take a goy and you can force him to do bittul. But if you want a non-Jew to do bittul, you have to go ahead and he has to do one of these things.
So the Gemara, the Mishnah, telling us instructions.
Kates mevala.
The goy, how to mevatel
correct.
avodah zarah.
Correct. Again, we don't want him. We want him to sell it to us, or because
he's living in Eretz Yisrael,
or whatever it is. Even if it's not in Eretz Yisrael, it's money for us. It's something that we want. I like your idol. I want to use it. I want it. It's a piece of jewelry. It's a piece of gold. Whatever it is, I want it. And you need to be mevatel before I take it from you.
3 stones we're talking about.
It could be anything. It could be anything that you want. Right? Correct.
If they just found the idol with his nose cut off, it doesn't mean anything unless you actually saw the goy.
So it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like if you find an idol with its nose cut off, you can assume that it was batel, and therefore you can use it.
It does seem counterintuitive that we're the defenders of monotheism. We can't destroy our idols. It's sort of counterintuitive.
Right. No, again, we can destroy them.
But we can't
you can't be mevatel them to then use them, which makes sense.
Can never be
you
used.
can't be mevatel them to use them, but you can destroy them, and you're supposed to destroy them. But you just can't be mevatel to use them. You don't have the power to be mevatel something that you didn't infuse the power into. And even if you did infuse the power of kedusha or anti-kedusha, lemaisa, we're going to punish you, and you can't be mevatel it.
Then they can stay in Eretz Yisrael. If not, goodbye.
That I don't know. But if you're saying that they can't, I don't know if they have to be. Yeah, they're not allowed to serve avodah zarah. Correct.
The couldn't stay in Eretz Yisrael regardless.
Right.
What you just said isn't 100%. Rabbi, what you just said isn't totally true because you can pick any goy to mevatel any idol, even if that goy didn't infuse anything into it, just because he has the ability, I guess.
Right, but the point is that he can be mevatel, but like I said before, that if it's worshipped afterwards, then it didn't accomplish anything. So the fact that he has the ability to be mevatel, I don't say this is no longer going to be used for idolatry. If it is used for idolatry again, then let me say, but it makes sense here that you're physically doing something to it. Yeah. You're not just saying this is no longer going to be used for idolatry. You're physically harming it, quote unquote, cutting off a piece of it. Therefore, it makes sense that anybody can do that.
So when Abraham went and he destroyed the idol.
So again, so Abraham, he destroyed it. He couldn't use it afterwards, but he destroyed them. According to this, he couldn't use them. We have a chiyuv to destroy them, but you can't go ahead and use them. Okay, I'm going to get in trouble if I don't finish in time.
They weren't Jewish. That's not a problem with them.
So this is very, very interesting. Listen to this. And you got to hold your Gemara cup, but this is a Geshmak Sugya. If you sell them or you use it as a collateral, then Lamaisa, there's a machlokes, is it batel or not? Now there's going to be 4 sadim. Ze'iri Amar Rav Yochanan Rav Yirmiyah bar Avram Arav. What's the machlokes? Chad amar machloches b'tzoref oved kochavim ava b'tzoref Yisrael divrei kol bitel v'chad amar b'tzoref Yisrael machloches. What's happening here? A non-Jew is selling or giving it as a mashkon to somebody else. Let's assume he's selling it for argument's sake. Because the mashkon, it's a little more confusing. Is he allowed to use it? But even the mashkon, the Gemara is assuming that the person you're giving the mashkon to is ultimately going to use it. Maybe you're not going to pay him or anything. But you sell it. The question is, who are you selling it to? Where we're going to say batel. So the first opinion is that the machlokes is when you sell it to a non-Jewish smelter. Now, it could be, a smelter is like a melter. I don't know why they have the S, but a smelter is a melter. At the end of the day, it's unclear whether it has to dafka be a smelter, but it sounds like it's a non-Jewish smelter. So what's the machlokes? Rebbe says when you sell it to a non-Jewish smelter, it's going to be batel. Again, a non-Jew selling it to a non-Jewish smelter. The Rabbanan are saying it's not going to be batel. What's the machlokes? What's the yisod of machlokes? Well, when they sell it to a non-Jewish smelter, why is it batel? Rabbi would say it's batel because you assume that the non-Jewish smelter is going to melt it down. Therefore, when you, the non-Jew, sells it to him, you're mevatel in your mind this avodah zarah because you assume it's going to go ahead and it's going to be melted down. Why do Rabbanan say it's not batel? Because the Rabbanan assume you're selling it to the smelter. He may melt it down eventually, but l'maisa he's going to worship it first. So for sure he's going to worship it. Therefore, at the end of the day, you're not batel it in your mind. That's the machlokes. However, aval b'tzoref Yisrael divrei kol bitel. But by Yitzoref Yisrael, according to this tzad, if you sell it to a Jewish melter, everybody agrees that you assume he's going to melt it down. He's not going to worship it. Therefore, the seller, the Ovei Kochavim, by definition, is mevatel it in his mind at the time that he sells it to the Tzoref Yisrael. V'chad amar b'tzoref Yisrael machlokes. And one says, no, they argue by Tzoref Yisrael. We'll have to see what that Mandi Amar says about Tzoref Ovei Kochavim. Do they argue there too, or do they agree? But one says that Tzoref Yisrael is actually a machlokes. It's not divrei kol bitel. So we understand the pshat that you would say that Tzoref Yisrael is bitel. If you sell it to a Jewish smelter, you assume he's going to melt it down. What's the tzad to say that if you sell it to a Jewish smelter, he's not going to be mevatel it in his mind, the seller? Because you assume that what? A Jew's always happy to make a quick buck. What's the Jewish smelter going to do? He's going to sell it to a non-Jew to be able to go ahead and worship it. That's the tzad to say that it's not batel when you sell it to a Jewish smelter. We don't know what it's going to be. Now the question is, within the second Chad Amar, B'tzoref Yisrael machlokes, aval tzoref ovei kochavim divrei kol lo bitel, would that opinion hold that if you sell it to a non-Jewish smelter, for sure it's not batel, because at the end of the day, he's going to worship it? Or would Rebbe say that even in that case, it's going to be batel, there's going to be a machlokes, because he's going to say, no, in that case as well, we assume that he's going to melt it down, and I am going to be batel. So again, you have one side who says that it's machlokes by the Ovei Kochavim, but when you sell it to a Jew, the guy definitely has in mind, again, who's being mevatel it? Not the Jew. The seller's being mevatel it before or at the time that he sells it. And according to the other Mandi Amar, they argue by Tzoref Yisrael, and we're not sure what they would say by Tzoref Ovei Kochavim. So Tashma, what the Chad Amar, the second one says, the Amar Rebbe who held that it's batel, nirin divarai kishamachra lechavla, v'divrei chavirai shemachra leovda. My words make sense that it's batel when you sell it to be destroyed. V'divrei chavirai, the Rabbanan makes sense when you sell it to be worshipped. When you sell it to be destroyed, my words make sense that what? It's going to be batel. When you sell it to be worshipped, his words make sense that what? That it's not batel. Mai lechavala, mai leovda. It can't be pashut. Eli melechavala, lechavala mamish, leovda, leovda mamish. My time at demandam rabito, my time at demandam lobito. It can't be that when you sell it to be worshipped, there's going to be any mandamar who's going to say that he was batel it. And it can't be that if you sell it to be destroyed, there's going to be any man d'amar who's going to say that lo batel. Elalav lechavala. What does lechavala mean? Lemisha asid lechavla. The person who's eventually going to destroy it. Umanu, that's a Tzoref Yisrael. So what's Rebbe saying? Rebbe is saying, my words make sense when you sell it to what? To a Tzoref Yisrael. When you sell it to a Tzoref Yisrael, to a Jewish smelter, it makes sense to say batel, because we assume that what? He's going to melt it down. Le'ovda, lemisha asid le'ovda, umanu tzoref oved kochavim. But when you sell it to a non-Jewish smelter, what makes sense? We assume he's going to worship it, and therefore it makes sense like the Rabbanan would say, lo bittul, ushma mina, bein bezeh machlokes. So what do you see from here? Rebbe is basically setting it up and telling us that what? That there's a machlokes in both cases. Bein Litzoref Yisrael, Bein Litzoref Ovei Kochavim. So at this point in the Gemara, it comes out that we have two Chad Amars. Chad Amar, the machlokes is by Yitzoref Ovei Kochavim, but by Yitzoref Yisrael, everybody goes ahead and says it's batel. V'chad Amar, that the machlokes is by both Yitzoref Yisrael and Yitzoref Ovei Kochavim. And the Tosh, what?
That it might get worshipped.
They might get worshipped. And the Tashma seems to say like the second Chad Amar. It not only tells us what the second Chad Amar is saying, it tells us like the second Chad Amar. The only problem with this pshat is what? It's weird that Rebbe's going to come along and say, the halacha is like me when it's a chavala, but the halacha is like him when you're selling it to a non-Jew. That doesn't make sense. And that could be the basis of why the Gemara is going to reject what it's about to do. It's really going to reject because it's going to tell you have no proof. You can't learn it like that. But it's weird, according to this opinion, that Rebbe would be saying, I'm right in my case and he's right in that case. Then if you think he's right in his case, so then you should be agreeing with him in that case. Says the Gemara, that's why, lo, hachi kamar, this is what it means. This is what Rebbe said. Amar Rebbe, nirin divarai lechaverai kishamachra lechavala, umanu tzoref Yisrael, Sha'av chaverai lo nechlaku alai ela kishamachra la'avda val lechavala moduli. What does he mean when he says nira divarai lechaverai kishamachra lechavala? That means he's saying the Rabbanan would, because now if he's talking about the Rabbanan, it makes sense that he's going to say the Rabbanan would agree to me when it's sold to be destroyed umanu tzoref Yisrael. That when it's being sold to a Jewish smelter, the Rabbanan would actually agree to me that what? That we're going to say bittul she'av chaverai lo nechlaku alai ela kishamachar lavda. Because where do they argue with me? They only argue with me when it's being sent out, when it's being sent la'avda. What's that? That's the first mandi amar. Chad amar machloches bitzoref oved kochavim. That's la'avda. When it's a tzoref Yisrael, divrei hakol bittul. And that's how you read into Rabbi's words. Rabbi's words on top, 7 lines up. De Amar Rabbi, we thought it means nira divarik shemach lechavav divrei chaver shemach lavda. We thought Rabbi said, my words make sense when you sell it to the Jew, and his words make sense when you sell it to the non-Jew. That's not what Rabbi is saying. Rabbi is saying, my words work for my friend when you sell it to the Jew. That means he agrees with me when you sell it to the Jew. Where he argues with me is where you sell it to the non-Jew. So you can learn Rebbe's words as either being like the second Chad Amar or like the first Chad Amar. At the end of the day, again, when push comes to shove, we're learning Rebbe's words like the first Chad Amar, which comes out that what? Machloches bitzoref ovei kochavim. They're arguing when you sell it to a non-Jew. Rabbi says bittul because you assume that he's going to go ahead and melt it down. Rabbanan say lo bittul because you assume he's going to worship. But when you sell it to a Jew, everybody agrees like Rabbi, even the Rabbanan agree with Rabbi that it's bittul because we don't assume that Jews are going to go ahead and sell it. You assume that a Jew is going to go ahead and melt it down. Meisvei, we have
the other fellow believes he's going to sell it.
The other fellow believes he's going to sell it. Meisvei, no. According to that Chad Amar, everybody agrees, but B'tzor Yisrael divrei kol bitel. According to the second Chad Amar, B'tzor Yisrael, they argue about too. That's where he would say, that's where Rabbanan would say that we still assume that he's going to again. But again, it's hard to get every single shakla v'tayr, but that's the bottom line, and those are the svaras that we need to understand. Now, Meisvei, we have a kasha, halokech grutos min ovei kochavim matzah ben ovei kochavim. If you take pieces of silver from an ovei kochavim and you find within it a coin that was worshipped for avodah zarah, imat shelo nasan mos mashach yachzir. If you haven't yet paid him for the stuff, you can give it back because it's a mekach tos. Imisha nasan mos mashach yolich liyam hamelach. Once you do the meshicha and the payment, you can no longer say it's a mekach tos. And this could just be buying from a non-Jew.
Can't get a refund.
Not clear that it's necessarily by a Jew. But if you're buying from a non-Jew, it's clear that if you go ahead and you buy from the non-Jew and you pay and you do the meshicha, you have to throw it into the Yam HaMelach.
Refund.
You can't get a refund because you paid and you did meshicha. What does this show? What does this show over here? You have to throw it into the Yam HaMelach. What does that show? That when a non-Jew sells it to a Jew, what does he have in mind? He doesn't have in mind to be batalit, because if he had in mind to be batalit, then why would you have to throw it into the Yam HaMelach? It makes sense if you say like the second Chad Amar, that they argue B'tzoref Yisrael, and this opinion over here in this price is what? Hamani Rabbanan. This opinion is Rabbanan, who say that by B'tzoref Yisrael you're still not going to say batel. Because if you learn like the first Chad Amar, who says that by Tzar of Yisrael everybody agrees that it's batel, why in this case do you have to throw it into Yam Melach? So it must be like the second Mandi Amar, who says that the Machlokes is even by Tzar of Yisrael, and at least you have one opinion, and this price is going like that one opinion, the Rabbanan within the second Chad Amar, who says that by Tzar of Yisrael, lo batel, because we assume he's going to go ahead and resell it, and therefore this Oved Kochavim who sold it to you, assume that what? Assume that you were going to resell it, and therefore he wasn't mevatel it, and therefore when you buy it from him and you do the Meshicha and you pay for it, you need to throw it in the Yam Melach. Says the Gemara, Le'iyomar Pitzorif Oved Kochavim Machlokim B'Pitzorif Yisrael Divra Kol Bitel HaMani. That's the Reisha. Says the Gemara, no, you can argue that it's really everybody agrees that by Tzor of Yisrael the guy is batel. So why wasn't he batel it here? No, why wasn't he batel it here? Because when he sold you the coins, he didn't know that there was Ovei Kochavim in the coins. Wow. Had he known, Eina Chanami, we would say, according to the Mandi Amar, that he is batelit. But since he didn't know that there was Avodah Zarah in this whole pile of coins, he forgot that he put one of his Avodah Zarahs in there. Lamaisa, he couldn't have had intent. Says the Gemara, Shani Hasam Dadaita de Gruto Zavin, Adaita de Avodas Kochavim lo Zavin. So again, as we have many times in the Gemara, we have a Meisvei one way, we reject the Meisvei, which doesn't mean that we hold like the other opinion, it just means that we don't have a support either way. So we have two opinions about what's going on. Again, everybody agrees Machlokes B'Tzoref Yisrael at this point. The question is, do they agree that it's batel by Tzoref Yisrael, or is there still room to say lo batel because the guy is going to sell it to another Ovei Kochavim?
So after you throw it into the Yam, can you take it out again?
No, that's it. You got to get rid of it. It's Aser Ba'ana. It's Aser Ba'ana.
It's done.
You're not allowed to be mevatel it. A Jew can't be mevatel it. The Jew is not allowed to be mevatel it. And we said yesterday. One second. And we said yesterday that tumanami lo batel. Right? We talked about the tuma yesterday. Come on, we got a chazer. Zag the Gemara. Tana Rabbanan.
What if he doesn't get it and turns the salt, burns the nose off?
Okay, that's okay.
What if we find one today?
Never understood what a klutz kasha is. Okay. Lo ve'aleha o shenafla leha mapoles o sheganvua listin o shenichua bailam v'halcham g'nesam. This is very interesting. These gemaras are very fascinating. Lo ve'aleha. You have a non-Jew who has Avodah Zarah, and he gives it as a collateral to somebody. He gives it to me as a collateral, and he takes a loan out. So the question is, do we assume in all of these cases that he was mevatel it? He basically said, I'm never going to get it back. And therefore, stam das. Again, it's unclear from the Gemara if it's stam or it has to be active, but it sounds like stam das in these cases is that he's mevatel it. Or do we say otherwise? So in one case, he lends it, he gives it to me as a mashkon, and he borrows money of it. Or a building collapses on it, and he doesn't go into the building to go get it. Or it's stolen by Ganovs, and he doesn't go after it. Or he goes to the United States of America, and he leaves it in his house. In all of these cases, imasidin lachzer b'melchemes Yoshua eina betela. It sounds like, again, it's unclear if stam what happens, but it sounds like if he's planning on coming back, like the Melchemes of Yoshua, then it's not batel. But if he doesn't plan on coming back for it, and again, unclear from the Gemara what the halacha would be if we're not sure what he plans. But if he doesn't plan on coming back for it, then it's going to be batel, which is interesting because again, now we're adding to what we said before. Before we said you have to go ahead and what? You have to go ahead and you have to ruin it. You have to do something to it. This is why Gemara is always a progression. Now this Mishnah seems to be saying, not only can you ruin it, you can literally just leave it, and if you leave it, then you're being mevatel it as well. Says the Gemara, why do you need all four of the what?
It's an Eina potato. These are all Eina betela.
Eina betela. If atidin lachzor ki melchemes Yoshua, if he's asid, if he plans to come back like melchemes Yoshua, the Gemara is going to ask in a second. What does that mean, ki melchemes Yoshua? It means the Amoris who wanted to come back after the war. But we'll get to that in a second. But if you don't have intention, and the house falls on it, and he doesn't intend to come back and get it from the house, you see he's not going into the house to get it, then it is batela. That's the point. Now the Gemara is going to ask, what do you need all four of these examples for? Just give me one of the examples, and I'll know that all of the other examples are batela unless he plans on coming back. It's like yesh. If you told me that when he loans on it, you might think, why in fact, if he's ready to come back, it's not betela because he dafka didn't sell it. This seems, the Gemara seems to be saying they were talking about stam das. That means imasidin lachzor, or we have to assume that he's asid in lachzor. You understand what I'm saying about stam das versus, right? You could either say we don't know what he's thinking, or we could say dafka wants to come back. So, sricha, if you would tell me that in the case where he lends he gives it to me as a mashkon. So one can argue, in that case where he gives it to me as a mashkon, he doesn't have the intent for that idol to be batel, because what? If he wanted to be mevatel, what would he have done? He would have sold it, not given it as a mashkon. But maybe one would argue that if you see a house fall on it, and you see the guy not going into the house to get it, then by definition he's mevatel it. Zok the Gemara, kamash malan, tzricha, that what? Even if you see a house fall on it, you can't assume that he's batel it unless he tells you that he's not going in to get it. And you might think that what? If you see a house fall on it, you might think the reason that when a house falls on it and he doesn't get it, it's not batel, because why is he bothering to go get it? He knows that it's safe where it is and he'll come back and get it later. But when it's stolen by listing, if you don't see him going after, you can assume that he's mevatel it. Tzricha, no, we assume that by the ganavim, maybe also he's not mevatel. Why? Because why is he not running after the ganavim? Because he knows if they went ahead and they weren't Jewish, then they're going to worship it. So what do I need to go get my idol back? I don't need the idol. I just want to make sure that nobody misuses it. And I know my Jewish friends, and I know that if it was a Jew who stole it, clearly a Jew who's stealing it is not the most upright Jew. He'll sell it to go make a quick buck. So at the end of the day, there's a reason to assume that in each case, there's a reason why he didn't actively go ahead and run into the building. There's a reason to assume why he didn't actively go ahead and run after the listim. Therefore, in all these cases, unless he tells you that he specifically wants to go ahead and be mevatel it, you can't assume that just because he uses it as a bikadon, just because he doesn't run into the house to get it, just because he doesn't run after the listim, you can't assume that he's being mevatel it unless you know that what? Unless you know that he's being mevatel it. Aval hinichua bailim ba'alchol medina sayam. But in a chanami, if he goes to America, so then you can assume that he's being mevatel it.
I'd say he just left the idol in charge to look after his things while he's gone.
You could say. Tzricha, therefore you need it again. You might think, Tzricha, you need it because we can say like the doctor that he actually left it to look over, and therefore unless we know that he's not planning on coming back, it sounds like it's not going to be mevatel. Now the Gemara says something very interesting. What did we mean on top when we said if he plans on coming back, then it's not batel, which sounds like if he doesn't plan on coming back. You understand where I'm struggling with this lashon, because it says that sounds like it's only not batel if we know that he's coming back. That means stam, if we don't know what he's doing, we can assume it's batel. But from the lashon of the Gemara here with all these cases, it sounds like we don't assume it's batel by default, and we assume that it's only batel if he actually tells us with his own mouth. That's what I'm struggling with in this lashon. But either way, if he tells us...
If he doesn't say anything, what is it?
Right, the bottom line is if he doesn't say anything. So the Gemara seems to be implying that if he doesn't say anything, we can't assume that he's mevatel it unless we know that what? Unless we know that he's not coming back. But what does it mean? It means if he's planning on coming back, like the Melchemes Yoshua, it's not batel. Who came back in the Melchemes Yoshua? Midei Melchemes Yoshua Mahadar Hadar. Nobody came back. The Amorites ran away. They didn't come anywhere near back. What does it mean? Hachi kamar imasidin lachsor. If he plans on coming back, and that makes a lot more sense. Hareu kimelchemes Yoshua ve'ein la betela. If he plans on coming back, then it's like the Melchemes Yoshua ve'ein la betela. What does that mean, like the Melchemes Yoshua? Explains Rashi that when the Jews went into Eretz Yisrael, they had to go ahead, and the pasuk says, Lo yidbak biyadcha me'uma min acherim. They couldn't touch anything. Why not? Why don't we assume that the non-Jews were mevatel it? Because the non-Jews planned on coming back. Because when they were chased out of the land, the Amorites didn't think that they're not going to come back. Therefore, when they came, they went ahead and they had to destroy everything because we assume that they didn't go ahead and bevatel it biadayim with their mouth beforehand. Therefore, when they came into Eretz Yisrael, imasidin lasor kimelchemes Yoshua. If they plan on coming back, then it's like the stuff of Yoshua, which has no badla. But if they don't plan on coming back, then ein achanami. Again, if we don't know whether they plan on coming back, it sounds like from the Gemara, we need to assume that they might be coming back. Then the obvious question becomes, so if you're telling me that if he plans on coming back, it's not batel, and if he doesn't plan on coming back, it is batel, so just tell me, if he plans on coming back, it's not batel. What do you need to tell me? If he plans on coming back, then we treat it like the stuff from Melchemes Yoshua. So what's the answer of the Gemara every single time it asks a question like this? Milsa agav orcha kamash malan. That what? We're going to teach that. You're right, in a chanami. Where do we see this? We see this in the first daf of Shas. Me'emas I korin ishma me'arvis. Mishash I korin lechol b'tshuma? Why does it go in and just say Misha Tzisa Kochavim, Milsa Gavorcha Kamashvalan? This idea comes up all the time in Gemara, doctor, that anytime we give an answer that we could have given a simple answer, and we give a complicated answer, the reason we gave the complicated answer is because we could learn something else from that answer. So over here you could have just said, if the guy doesn't plan on coming back, if the guy plans on coming back, then it's not batel. He said if he plans on coming back, then we treat it like the stuff at the Milchemes Yoshua to teach me something about the stuff of the Milchemes Yoshua. What was that we want to teach you? Kihad Damar Vu Damar Rav Yisrael Shezakaf Leveina Lishtach Vosla. Very fascinating. If I take a brick and I set it up to bow down to it, but I don't bow down to it, what did we say? Unless I bow down to my own idol, you can't make my idol puzzle. However, for some reason, if a non-Jew comes and bows down to something that I set up and never worshipped, asra. It's usher to me. Why is it usher to me? Minalan da asr. Why is it usher? You worship my stuff, it's usher. I could go around. If I have any enemies, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to your house. I'm going to worship your house. I'm going to worship your car. I'm going to worship your money. And now everything's going to be usher to you. We said you can't be oser something else of a friend. So why in this case where I set up the thing but I don't actually worship, and now you, the non-Jew, come ahead and worship it, why is it usher? Rav Elazar, listen to this. Kitchila shel Eretz Yisrael. It's like when they came into Eretz Yisrael, the Amrachman of Ashereim Tisrafun Ba'esh, when the Jews came into Eretz Yisrael, they had to burn all of the trees. Michte, listen to this. Yerusha hi lehem me'avosehem. I don't understand. Avram Avinu is given all of Eretz Yisrael. V'ein Adam oser davar sheino shalo. What gave the non-Jews the right to serve these trees and to use them as Asherahs? When we come into Eretz Yisrael and conquer the time of Yoshua, why do we need to destroy all the trees? At the end of the day, if they worship something that belongs to us, clearly what? Clearly, it's not aser. V'imishum hanach demeikara. If you say that it's because of the trees that were there before Avram Avinu went ahead and was Yoresh Eretz Yisrael, bibitula be'alma sagilu, then what could we do? They could have gone ahead when they captured Eretz Yisrael, and they could have taken all of the non-Jews, the Canaanites, and they could have forced them and go around to every single tree in Eretz Yisrael and say, you need to be mevatel this or I'll kill you. And they'll go around and take one person to every tree, and they didn't do that. Ela midepalchu Yisrael egel. This is fascinating. The fact that the Jewish people bowed down to the egel, Golu adaitayu dinechalu ba'avodas kochavim. They showed that they like avodah zarah. V'chiyasu ovdei kochavim shlichu sadidu avdi. When I have something that I set up, if I bow down to it, it becomes aser. If you bow down to it, it doesn't become aser. But if you're my shliach, i.e., if I say anybody who wants to come and bow down to this aisle has a right to bow down to it, even if I don't bow down to it, once you bow down to it, it becomes aser. So in this case, when the Jewish people serve the Egel Azav, in essence, what they were doing is saying, anybody who wants to bow down to idols, come bow down. Therefore, they were by definition, or I would say not clearly, but by definition of their actions, we're basically telling the non-Jews, you want to bow down to any of our trees in Eretz Yisrael, go ahead and bow down. And therefore, since after the Egel, they were giving permission to the non-Jews to bow down and worship Avodah Zarah, at the end of the day, when they came into Eretz Yisrael, even though it was a Yerushalayim, and really in general, you can't be Oser something of somebody else, since they gave the non-Jews the permission. 1 second, Lamaisa, everything became Aser. Hachanami Yisrael shezakaf levein, and that's where we learn to hear. That's where we learn from Milchemes Yoshua. Now, if we're going to take that again, from the Milchemes Yoshua was Vasherei Am Tisun, you have to burn it because of what happened by the Egel. So to here, when I set up this thing, when I set up this stone myself, and you come and bow down to it, the fact that I set it up shows that I want people to worship it, and even if I don't worship it myself, you became my shliach and you make it aser for me. Hachanami Yisrael shezaka leveina gol yadaite denechale bavodas kochavim v'chiyasa v'kachal mupalachla shluchusa didei kavin. Says the Gemara, v'dilma be'egel hu denechalahu b'midi achrina lao. Maybe at the end of the day, when they were coming and bowing down to the egel, they were saying, we bow down to egels, but we don't believe in Asherah trees being avodah zarah, and therefore we give you no reshus to bow down to Asherah trees. Says the Gemara, Amar Kra Eila Lohecha Yisrael. They said, these are the gods of Israel when they pointed to the Egel. Melamed she'ivu lelohus harbe. It teaches that they desired many, many gods, and therefore they desired the trees as gods also. And therefore, when the non-Jews bowed down to the trees, Lamaise was with the permission as a shliach of the Jew. Ema kol ba'adi Egel nitzru mikan ve'elech nishterei. So then, okay, no problem. But then at the very least, why don't we say that at the time of the Egel, they were giving permission to bow down to all the trees, and therefore all those trees will be aser. But Lamaise, the Jewish people eventually did tshuva, and therefore any tree that was worshipped after the Jews did tshuva and basically said, I don't want anybody bowing down to idols anymore, all those trees should be mutter. Says the Gemara, you're right. Man muchach, go find them. If you can go find which trees were only worshipped after the Chet Egel, after they did tshuva, Eina Chanami, those trees are not usher by the worshipping of the non-Jew. Just fascinating that Daf Yomi is always in Yana Diyoma. I saw a vort last night, Eila Elohecha Yisrael, Eila Pikudei Mishkan Mishkan Eidus. We know that there's a vort, the Eila of the Eila. The Eila goes ahead and is mechaper for the Eila. The Eila of Pikudei Mishkan is mechaper for the Eila Elohecha Yisrael of the Chet Egel. This is within the Mandamar, which says that the Mishkan came after the Chet Egel. Eila Pikudei Mishkan in Yana Diyoma, tomorrow's parsha. Eila Pikudei Mishkan is mechaper for the Eila Elohecha Yisrael. It's always in Yana Diyoma.
The difficulty with this pashat is that there was only a miut who actually did the egel. So you can't say because the miut did it that all the it's not all Klal Yisrael.
Okay.
It says it was a miyut.
I don't know if it was a miyut, but okay.
It says it was a miyut.
It's a miut.
I thought only Levim did.
How many people were killed?
We got to finish up. Come.
Okay,
It's getting late.
Why don't
I'm
we
not
say,
sure.
Why don't we say Ein Shaliach?
I never heard it was a miyut.
It's a miut.
Only
Ein Shaliach
the
Lidvar
Jews
Aveira.
actually worship. We didn't have in their heart.
I don't know if that would apply to a non-Jew.
Shevet Levi didn't do it.
I don't know if that would apply to a non-Jew. Could be. A lot of good questions today. Zok the Mishnah. Avodas kochavim sheinichu avdaha. If avodas kochavim.
Is that going to be the speech tomorrow, by the way?
Avodas kochavim sheinichu avdaha. I haven't thought about it. That's why I need to finish the daf. Avodas kochavim sheinichu avdaha. An avodas kochavim where you left its worshipping. B'shas shalom muteres b'shas mechametz asura. If you left it, again, this is interesting. And again, I think it's fascinating. If you mamish delve into Gemara, everything is connected. What did we leave? We basically gave reasons to assume that all of the other cases, right? All the cases of lending the money or ganvua listim or the house falling on it, we gave a reason. Why what? We gave a reason why you would assume that he might not be coming back or why he might be coming back. We never gave a reason by when he went to the USA why he might be coming back or not coming back. This Gemara, I think, is working off of that, and the Gemara is saying, well, it depends. Bishat shalom muteres. If you go to the USA, bishat shalom, what do we assume if you left it behind? We don't assume that it's watching your house. We assume you're not coming back. Bishas milchama asura. If it's bishas milchama, we assume that you were chased away, but he plans on coming back, and therefore he wasn't batalit. Bimosio shel malachim arei elu mutaros. The pedestals of the malachim are mutter. Mibnei shemabidinosa b'shasha malachim ovrim. Rashi explains that they used to have these pedestals, and on top of the pedestal they would place avodah zarah. When would they do this? When the malachim would come, when the kings would come, so they would come through your city. So you had these pedestals set up on the streets, and when they would come through your city, you would put the avodah zarah on top of the pedestals, and then the melech would come and he would bow down. So it's very weird. It's very weird that the Mishnah says, why is it mutter? Those pedestals, if they're being used to put avodah zarah on top, we'll have to see in the Gemara why it's mutter. Zak the Gemara, Amr b'Yirmiyah b'Avram Arav, Beis Nimrod harei k'avodas kochavim sheinichu avdah b'shas shalom u'mutter. The Beis Nimrod, there's a machlokes how to learn this. Either he had a real temple, or as Rashi says, the actual thing that they built, the big tower that they built at the Dor Haflaga. When they ran away from it, they weren't just trying to reach God. They actually worshipped it as avodah zarah. When they ran away from it, that was considered to be running away from it b'shas shalom. When you run away from it at a time of peace, it's as if you're batalit. Says Gemara, what do you mean that's b'shas shalom? Avagav dechi badrinu rachmana kishas milchama dami ibaya lemahadar hadar midlo hadar betulei bala. What are you talking about? God scattered them throughout the world. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, but the Torah Gemara says, even though Hashem scattered them throughout the world, at the end of the day, after they were scattered, they had the right and the ability to come back. And the fact that they didn't come back to this Beis Nimrod, to this tower, shows that what? Shows that they were mevatelit, and it's as if they were scattered b'shas shalom, and lemaisa, it fits with what we're saying, that if he leaves it b'shas shalom, then he's batalit. If he leaves it b'shas milchama, he has intention to come back, and he's not mevatelit. Zak the Gemara, b'mosio shalovek shal malachim arei elu mutaros v'chim ibnei shemabidin osa b'shas malachim ovin mutarim. I understand. Just because you only put idols on there when the malachim are coming through, it's going to be mutter. It's going to be aser. You're putting idols on there. Amar Rabba Bar Bachana Rabbi Yochanan hachi kamar. No, ibnei shemabidin osa b'shas malachim ovin u'melachim manichin derech zu v'holchim b'derech acheres. No, what's pshat? That when the melech comes to town, we don't know what street he's going to go on. It's going to go on Bathurst. It's going to go on this other street. It's going to go on Lisa Crest. fluorescent. So you're going to go, we have the Secret Service. So what do? We have to set up pedestals everywhere. We need to put pedestals everywhere just in case the Melech comes onto that street. Then he's going to go ahead and bow down. So Eina Chanami, it sounds like the street that the Melech actually goes down and bows to those idols, those pedestals will become Aser. When we talk about the pedestals being mutter, the pedestals that were set up in order to put the Avodah Zarah on them, but if the Melech didn't go down the street, then they were never bowed down to. If they were never bowed down to, then the pedestals are not Aser.
Next time we'll go the other way.
There are different ways that he went, Rashi says. Zakta Gemara, Yasa Ula Yasim Abisma Pigima. When Ula came, so he sat on a damaged pedestal. So let's assume that there was a pedestal that was used for Avodah Zarah. The question now becomes, we just finished saying, again, everything is glad, everything's connected. We just finished saying that when you damage the actual idol, so now at the end of the day, it's batel. But now when you have the damaged pedestal, what's pshat with a damaged pedestal? Can you use it or can you not use it? Says the Gemara, Amalei Rav Yehuda le'ula, v'ha, so he says, he sat on it. So he felt that he got hana, it was okay to get hana from a damaged pedestal. He would never sit on a pedestal that had been used for Avodah Zarah, but once it's damaged, he assumed that it's batel, just like the Avodah Zarah itself. Says, Amalei Rav Yehuda le'ula, v'harav Shmuel, damri tavayu, bimos shenifgam aser. Even though it's nifgam, it's still asur to sit on because it was worship for Avodah Zarah. Va'afilu leman di'amar ein ovdin l'shvarim. Even the man di'amar who says that they wouldn't worship broken idols. Hani mili avodas kochavim dezila b'mil salamiflach l'shvarim. One can argue that when we say that broken things are mutter, that's only an idol itself. When the idol itself is broken, nobody's going to worship it. Therefore, it's batel. Aval haylo ichbas. Like nobody cares if there's a little chip in the pedestal. If there's a little chip in the pedestal, you'll still use it, not to worship it because you're not worshiping it. It's not. You're not going to worship something even if it has a little chip. But if you're using it just to hold the Avodah Zarah, lemaisa you're not batel it, and therefore you can't sit on it even if it's damaged. Amar lei, so he says back to him, no, I don't agree. Man yoivlan me'afra de Rav Shmuel malinan einayin. I have a lot of respect for Rav Shmuel, and if I had the ability, I would take the afra from their shoes and I would throw it into my eyes. Nevertheless, Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish Amri Tavai, I don't hold like them in this case. I hold like Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, who say that a bimo shenifgam is mutter. But why is that? We just said a bimo shenifgam is what? They were willing to still use it, so it shouldn't be batel. What's the svara? Vafilu l'man di'amar ovdin l'shvarim. Now he's going the other way. There's a man di'amar who says that you actually go ahead and you worship broken pieces. And therefore, if an idol is broken, you're not allowed to go ahead and use it for hana because you assume that it's still what? It's still not batel. Hani mili avodas kochavim dekevan de palcha zila b'mil so lebitula. Since it's been worshipped, one can argue the opposite. We argue that once it's broken, they're bataled. No, one can argue since it was worshipped and it's avodah zara, they're never going to be mevataled even once it's broken. Aval hani shakli lahayu meisu b'misachrina. The opposite. It's really a machlokes and svara. Not that they're going to use a damaged pedestal. The pedestals are so cheap and they're not the actual avodah zara that if it's a little bit damaged, they're just going to throw it out and get a new one. Therefore, by definition, a damaged pedestal, they're actually going to be mevatal. So it's a machlokes, quote unquote, in mitzias of whether do they use damaged pedestals or do they not use damaged pedestals. Tanya Kavasi Rabbi Yochanan v'Reish Lakish. We have a brisa that supports this second opinion. Bimos shenifgam is mutter. That a bimos that's nifgam is mutter. Derech Agav, we're going to get into a whole discussion now that says mizbeach shenifgam aser ad sheginate trubo. That if a bimos has a little chip in it, a little crack in it, we assume that they're going to what? That they're going to go ahead and replace it, and therefore they're mevatel this one. But if mizbeach has a pegam in it, then it's aser because we assume that they're still using it for avodah zarah until most of its stones are shattered. Let's just finish this line. What is the difference between a bimus and a mizbeach? Amar Yaakov Baridi, Amar Yochanan. Bimus is Evan Acha. The pedestal is one stone, and a mizbeach is Avanim Harbe. Mizbeach is a lot of different stones together.